Well, hi everybody, this is Don Smith. Welcome to beautiful Arches National Park. I'm out here today on the eve of my upcoming annual Winter Arches Canyonlands workshop. You can see we have a winter wonderland out here. The roads are open, the forecast is trending in the right direction. A little more snow tonight and tomorrow, which would be fantastic. And then we kick off the workshop in a couple of days. So I thought today I'd like to take an opportunity to answer a lot of emails I get about what is in my travel bag. I have now started in earnest my winter/spring travel season. I was just in the Oregon coast last weekend, Utah this week. I'll go home for a couple of days and I'll be in Iceland with Gary Hart next week scouting for a new workshop in 2020, and then it's on down to Patagonia, etc., etc., etc. So what bag do I use? What gear do I take along? How do I do all of this? Stick around. I think I can help you. So let's first start with the bag I use, and that is the Mindshift 36L. This is an awesome bag. It's backloading, so you don't have to ever worry about picking up a bag again and having all your gear fall out. Snugs right against your back. I've taken this bag all over the world, all different types of airlines. It works fantastic. Next thing I would like to show you is what cameras I bring along on my trip. Well, my main camera is actually being used to film this video, so I can't show you, and that's the Sony A7R III. This is the Sony A9, the high-end sports camera that I'm very proud of because I was actually, as part of the Artisan team, brought into New York to discuss this camera prior to it being built with our engineers. And I won't tell you what ideas made it and what's not, because I'm not sure if they were exactly mine or Patrick Murphy Racy or Gene Lauer's, but we all gave input on the sports side of building this camera. Another camera I pack all the time, this is my A7S II. This is my night photography camera. Yes, it's only 12 megapixels, but it can literally see in the dark. It is an amazing camera for when we do night work. We're going to have actually a total lunar eclipse out here on Sunday night. You better believe this will be the camera I'll be using, and I'll back it up with the A7R III. Always two cameras. So let's talk about what lenses I travel with. This is the beauty, or part of the beauty, of mirrorless photography. The gear is so light that I can now travel with a range of glass from 12 to 400 millimeter in three lenses. And then I have a couple of converters. And if I throw in an A6500 or an A6300, I have a 1.5 crop factor, and I can go out to 1200 millimeter. How do I do this? Well, let's begin. I'm showing you one of my really, really favorite lenses, and this is the Sony f4 12 to 24 millimeter. You can see it has the bowed nose. Now, a question I get asked a lot on this lens because of the bowed nose is, hey, how do you put on a polarizer? Well, on a lens this wide, I really don't think about using polarizers, and the reason being is a polarizer will tend to splotch out a part of the sky or the scene I'm shooting, and to get it evenly balanced over that wide angle of millimeter is just nearly impossible. So for this guy, I do not use a polarizer. My next lens I want to show you is a brand new lens that I just got. This is the Sony 24 millimeter f1.4. This is going to be replacing my Sigma 1.4 20 millimeter as my night camera. Now, you might say, Don, why'd you want to go up from 20 millimeter to 24? Well, I didn't bring the Sigma out, but the weight difference, if you can imagine I was holding the Sigma in my left hand and this in my right hand, the Sigma would feel like a brick, while this one feels like a feather. It's lightweight, great to travel with, f1.4. I'll be using this guy Sunday night to shoot the lunar eclipse. My next lens is actually one I can't show you because it's what I'm being used to be filmed with here, but that's the Sony 24 to 105. And it is a fantastic lens, f4, razor sharp. I don't know why this lens didn't get the G Master designation. It is that good in my opinion. All right, so 105 up, we're starting to get into medium to telephoto range. This is the Sony f4 to 5.6 variable aperture 100 to 400 millimeter lens. And people kind of look at me funny if they're new to landscape, and they said, why would you use a telephoto lens in landscape? Well, to me, it's all about isolating your scene. In fact, we get asked the question all the time, what lens should I bring out on this shoot? Well, there isn't a right or wrong answer. I say, if you can bring them all. It's really dependent upon your vision of a scene that we're looking at. I can shoot a scene from wide angle to telephoto. I can find things to shoot generally, but I'll always go with what first kind of grabs my attention. And that 24 to 105 is just an awesome landscape lens. But when I want to get tighter in on the landscape, this is the guy I go with, my 100 to 400 millimeter. Okay, so let's go into talking about now a bit of specialty lenses. And the first one I want to discuss is the Sony 1.4 teleconverter. So this is a 1.4 crop factor. It can get my 100 to 400 millimeter out to 560 millimeters. And it's what, 140 to 560 millimeter. If I put this guy on, and I only lose a stop of light, so I'm down to f8. I'm on a tripod all the time when I'm shooting landscape anyway, so it's absolutely perfect. The next one, and people don't believe this, and I didn't until I actually tried it, this is the Sony 2X converter. And if you are using a Sony system, Sony cameras, Sony lenses, the 100 to 400, this is an absolutely razor sharp. I can get now that 100 to 400 out to 800 millimeters. Yes, it's f11, but I also own the 400 2.8. Now, I don't travel with that unless I'm doing something special, like going to Africa or something like that to specifically shoot animals. But here, you will have now a reach of 800 millimeters, f11, and if you put this on a 1.5 cropped camera, like the A6300, the brand new that was just released today or announced today, the A6400 or the A6500, you're out to 1200 millimeter reach. Think about that the next time you're doing one of your moonrise shots. The last little specialty, this isn't even really a lens, these are the Photodiox Pro extenders, and I have a 10 millimeter and a 16 millimeter. This allows me to increase the macro capabilities of any of my lenses right down the line. So maybe I want to get really tight with something with my 100 to 400, and I just can't quite get that autofocus to go in that tight. If I attach one or possibly two of these guys, boy, I'm in really tight. There is absolutely no weight. These are as light as a feather and not all that expensive. And you want to make sure if you're ordering these, you're ordering it for the Sony E-mount. Now, let's get away from cameras and lenses and talk about some other items I travel with. Number one item right here is the Giotto Rocket Blower. There is a video, if you go to my YouTube site, which you're on, obviously, go back about 4 videos and you'll see one that my assistant instructor in this workshop, Kurt Fargo, and I filmed in Big Sur last month on how to clean a camera sensor. And you're going to see Kurt recommends one of these in the bag every time you blow your camera before you come out to shoot. And it's really simple. That's really the easiest way to go about keeping your sensor clean. I won't get into all the other steps. You can watch the video and we'll teach you more in that video. Okay, couple other items, obviously. iPhone, this goes wherever I go. And a new little device I just put into the bag because I'm doing these videos. I have a lot of Sony wireless gear. In fact, let me show you one right here. This is one of the transmitters we're using. I have the dual receiver hooked in, but I have a lot of the remote gear that allows me to go anywhere and set up remotely. But sometimes I may just want to film on the iPhone. Well, how do I get decent audio if I want to do that? Well, this is a little device called the Zoom H1N. I just picked this up, last week before I came out on this trip. And this allows me to go ahead and use a wireless microphone. or excuse me, a wired microphone, and I plug it in. I use one of the Sony stereo microphones, and I can record as I put my iPhone on a brand new gimbal device that I just bought from my Apple store last week. And I plan to do a video over in Canyonlands, hopefully tomorrow if the weather cooperates, on the famed Mesa Arch, all shot with the iPhone and recorded on this Zoom device. And then obviously in Final Cut Pro, if you have the latest version 10, it matches up the waveforms from both, so it syncs my lips and it syncs the audio, and I get really clear audio and can shoot video. And oh, by the way, remember, this camera shoots 4K video. And I know not all of you have iPhones, but most of the top brands out there now are shooting in 4K. So really, that's about it. I always bring plenty of backup cards. You can never have enough of cards. And then I also bring spare batteries, and they stay in here. But I generally check my batteries every night. If they're getting low, I throw them on the charger while I'm sleeping. Wake up the next morning, I'm good to go for a full day shooting. And, you know, it's really as simple as that, gang. And this bag will also, let me zip it up here. You can see another item I carry all the time with me is a nice little Timberline umbrella. So if it happens to be raining or snowing, I don't want to get my gear wet, or my lens, more importantly, my lens wet, I simply just hold this over the camera as I'm filming. The last item, water, which I walked out of my hotel room today and forgot to bring, and I'm going to try to fill it up, but we're in the park with really no services in here, so there's not a lot we can do. But I keep this usually full of water when I'm out and about. That way, it's always important to stay hydrated even on cool days. So really, that's about all I take. It's lightweight. I don't think this bag weighs more than about 25, 30 pounds. There hasn't been, I've taken it to New Zealand, Africa. We were just up in the Scottish Highlands. I'll be in Iceland next week. I've taken it to Patagonia. I've taken it on all my domestic workshops that I do. Never an issue. I was on what I'd call a little puddle jumper flight out of Phoenix the other day. You can read my new blog on the amazing trip it took 2 days to get out here. Thank you, American Airlines, very little. And it fit everywhere. That bag ended up just scooting right under my seat on the smaller plane, put my laptop bag up in an overhead compartment, and I was off and running. So I hope you'll take a look at all of this. I have a B&H link on my website. It's under the discounts and affiliates link off my homepage, and you can go to B&H. And if you purchase something there, hey, I get a little cut for doing these videos. If you like this video, hit the like button and also leave some comments. I'd love some feedback. I'd love some ideas on future videos you would like to see done. So I think we're going to wrap it up. I still got a lot of scouting to do, and it's getting later out here. So from beautiful, snowy Arches Canyonlands, in fact, we're in the Garden of Eden up here, in case any of you are wondering where I'm standing. Until next time, this is Don Smith. You take care.